I don't know why, but I'm feeling this beat. So I'm gonna let this ride for a little bit. Let this beat ride. Is this accurate? Boom, 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 boom. I'm letting this beat ride. I'm gonna cut it off here in a second, y'all. Think some news. Trying to verify some breaking news. FSU might have got another addition out of transfer portal. I can't verify it quite yet. But we'll see. It looks like we may have landed the Harvard offensive tackle. So we'll talk about that. Let me turn the music down. Bum, bum, bum. There we go. Just waiting for the beat to stop. All right. What is going on, Florida State family? Seminole Nation in the 863 tribe. It's your boy POLK, a.k.a. a.k.a. the goddamn truth. We are on another episode of the Hangover. It is Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. I got to tell you, not a lot of news. Well, when I originally planned this show, there wasn't a lot of stuff to talk about, which is why you see me talking about we're just going to come in here and do a quick Q&A. Basically, whatever y'all want to talk about, we want to talk about, ask questions. I give my answers to the best of my abilities. And then Jim Harbaugh takes the Chargers job. So there's breaking college football news. The Florida State schedule got dropped. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to peep at the schedule and see if there are any pitfalls with FSU's record looking like potentially. Right. So we got that. And then again, I just saw something. It says we might have gotten that Harvard offensive lineman. Again, I cannot verify that. I don't see many major outlets verifying that just yet. So I don't want to put that out there as it's happened. But it kind of looks that way. And there is I don't know if y'all seen this quote, allegedly from Kanaya Charlton, and we'll talk about that. But as always, man, let's not waste more time. Again, this is the Hangover. You already know what to do. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share the video. Let's get everybody in here. Get in that comment section so we can get these. Y'all know what we do on Wednesdays, man. We do a roll call before we get into our topics. And if I don't know how I feel right now. So I'm on day 3 of this juice and water fasting. And it ain't easy. It sucks. But I just felt like, oh no, man. I felt like my body needed it. So I decided to give it a shot. I said, I'm going to get to Wednesday and see how I feel and see if I can get till Friday. So the goal is to get to Friday. I started Sunday. We're going to get to Friday. We're pretty much halfway done. So, yeah, your boy hungry. But we're going to stay in here for the long haul on that. Let's get a roll call, man. Let's get into these topics. Let's not waste your or my time any longer. I got Todd Pope in the building. Insane Mob. Both of them saying hit the like button. Jeff Hill, KCD, Island Boy, FSU Tony, Vontae B, Montre, Panama Jack, Tyler Hedden, Kenny Hayden, Tyler Hedden and Kenny Hayden, all in the building. Cool Breeze is in the building. William Macmillan is in the building. And that's all we got here so far. So I want to read this quote real quick. I actually didn't see this. And again, I don't know how accurate this quote is. And this could just be a troll quote. But Kanaya Charlton, man, who we all know just recently hit the transfer portal. I think he's the latest FSU addition in the transfer portal. He says, why would I come back to the program that won't pay me a dime, but bringing in and playing players that haven't played one down? Florida State football offensive lineman Kanaya Charlton no longer with the Noles. Apparently that's a quote from Kanaya. I don't know how accurate that is. If that is true, I mean, hey. So right now, 247 is confirming that they did get the Harvard offensive lineman Jacob Rizzi. So we're going to talk about that because that's interesting. He's a 6'5", 305-pound interior option, apparently. He graduated from Harvard and has 2 years to play. So good for him. Obviously an intelligent individual who's a Harvard grad. I'm trying to think of my thoughts on this one. I know I'm quiet and I'm trying to process the information. I know I'm just kind of reading. I did not expect FSU to take another interior offensive lineman, which is allegedly what this is being. This is what this is according to 247. This is an interior offensive lineman that FSU's decided to take here in the transfer portal. You've already taken 3. You've taken Ferguson, Buddy out of Leonard, and now Rizzi. Now at 6'5", can he potentially play some offensive tackle? It would make sense to me. Offensive tackle would be the position you would maybe target, simply for the fact that you can't trust Robert Scott to stay healthy. I don't know if Darius Washington, if you want to make Darius their full-time starter or not. And Jeremiah Byers, in my opinion, didn't play consistently enough, though they never benched him. Well, I'll take that back. There were times where Jeremiah Byers was pulled in favor of Darius. I don't know. If they're bringing him in to play some offensive tackle, that makes a lot of sense to me. And if we're talking about another interior guy, well, hot damn, how many interior guys do we need? When you already brought in Ferguson and Leonard, Keandre Jones is coming back. Maurice Smith is coming back. You have guys like Estes. There is a very interesting. How do I describe it? There is a very there's a lot to be determined here with Alex Atkins and his evaluations, and now what is becoming these developments. Because I just got to keep it honest, because that's what I do. I keep it honest. We've lost Dontre Richardson. We've lost Quayshawn Sapp. We've lost Kanaya Charlton. Those are 3 offensive linemen from that vaunted all O-line class. That same class that we, praise to the heavens Alex Atkins for putting on the table. And we still haven't seen Early and Armella And you got to start getting, I don't know, maybe a tad bit worried that you continue to bring in offensive linemen and yet you fail to play your own. How much longer does Early and Armella stick around? I mean, if Armella's like, I don't understand why you bring in the Harvard kid. I'm not saying he's not a good player. Hell, who knows? He might start on the offensive line. I have zero idea. This has zero to do with Rizzy. Rizzy may be a great player. The pictures I've seen of him, he looks the part for the most part. And looks can always be deceiving. But he looks like he's wide, long arms. I mean, just from the looks. I don't know his exact measurables other than he's 6'5", 305. Like, I don't know his arm. I don't know his wingspan. I don't know any of that. But I'm saying all of this to really say, how much longer does Armella and Early stick around? You can't move Armella in at guard. If you can't get on the field at tackle, you can't tell me Armella's not good enough to be a guard for you. Estes isn't good enough. The man's been here for 3-4 years. You can't play. At what point do we start questioning some of the in-house development and evaluations of Alex Atkins? I think it's a question that is legitimate. Again, I'm okay with taking another offensive lineman. Taking another interior guard is interesting to me. They like Rizzy at center. That's dope. So that means they probably like Leonard at guard, Ferguson or Keandre at the other guard. So Leonard will push Maurice Smith, or they'll figure something out there. Again, at what point do we get some of these young guys on the field? We've already seen, again, 3 guys. That was 5 offensive linemen they took in that vaunted class. 3 4-stars and 1 3-star, and then 1 kind of project guy. If you count Antavius Woody in that class, whether he's a D tackle or offensive lineman, that's arguably 6. So you've lost 4 in that class if you want to count Antavius Woody. That's all the same class. And you only have Early and Armella left. I don't know, man. That's interesting. I see Till Dog in the building. Jeffrey Bell, Sport Mark. Pretty No Girl. William. I think I shouted you out, William. Panama Jack. I don't think I shouted you out yet, Panama. Panama says Alex Atkins hasn't developed or evaluated well. See, it's hard for me to dispute that comment. Other than the guy, we add about 3 offensive linemen every transfer portal. And again, I'm not against it, but I think at some point fans do want to see our own. And if you want to continue to recruit offensive linemen, and that's with any position, you do want to start seeing your own get on the field at some point. So we'll see what it is. Again, I'm not against Jacob Rizzy. I'm not against the player at all. I'm just only kind of looking underneath that in terms of what's the real health of the entire offensive line. Or the truth of the matter is, at the time when FSU was recruiting some of these players, they were just taking bodies. Dontre Richardson and Quayshawn Sapp, and maybe some of these guys, maybe in a normal, maybe going forward, FSU would never recruit the likes of a Dontre Richardson. Maybe. Like, maybe you would never even recruit those caliber of players, and you're seeing us kind of weeding some of them out. But, I mean, talking about a Harvard O-lineman. So it's interesting. It's interesting. It's kind of like the first, in my opinion, I would say the first questionable take in the portal for me, if I'm being honest. This one. And again, it has nothing to do with the player. But Jacob Rizzy is FSU's newest transfer portal addition. So I think that, 15 players in the portal right now. Again, completely retooling this offense, man. Let's continue. let's see. We got that Harbaugh. Somebody saw somebody bringing up a comment, so let's touch on that for a little bit. Jim Harbaugh just took the Chargers job, so now it's officially been announced Michigan's transfer portal window is open for 30 days. I don't think we'll see the exodus at Michigan that we seen other places because all the talk seems to be is the offensive coordinator, the guy who pretty much the interim coach who pretty much filled in for majority of the season when Harbaugh was fired for 6 games. Harbaugh was like only fired for half of the season, and the guy that filled in for him, his parent as a allegedly or rumor mill or whatever you want to call that is in the running for that job. Kind of makes sense at this point, and it kind of makes sense that if you want to keep the roster intact going forward, if you're Michigan, that you would keep him. What's his name again? I forget his name. His last name is Moore. What's his first name? Let me check. Sharon Moore. Yeah, he probably will be the next head coach at Michigan. I don't expect I don't expect Michigan to lose a ton of players in the transfer portal. I think the hiring of the offensive coordinator will kind of stabilize that roster, and you might see a couple guys go here or there. You kind of knew when McCarthy left that it was kind of writing on the wall there for Harbaugh. I'm interested to see what happens with the NCAA because I would hate for them to give this up-and-coming black head coach first-time job a program riddled with sanctions all of a sudden after Harbaugh leaves, and then somehow they'll pin all of that on him. So I would hate to see that happen to him. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Michigan. It'd be interesting to see if NCAA comes down on him or them or not. I don't think they should, and I know people might not like that, but if the head coach who is in charge of it sees the writing on the wall and he decides to leave, I don't know why you then punish the players. I understand maybe punishing the program, but we'll see what happens with Michigan. Harbaugh getting out of Dodge, probably similar to what Pete Carroll decided to do. We'll just see what Simmons does, and if he gets hit with those sanctions due to Harbaugh or not, we'll see. And again, I don't expect FSU to really target. I'm not saying they won't target any Michigan players. I don't think you'll have the same type of player hitting the portal that Bama had, right? And Bama kind of continues to have. I don't think Michigan has that same type of exodus. So we'll see, though. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see. Momo says target the O-line. I mean, damn, how much more O-line we trying to bring in here? How much O-line? But so if you're just now joining us, Jacob. Yeah, Jacob Rizzi has committed to FSU from Harvard. He is a Harvard grad. He has 2 years of eligibility. So again, the take itself, the player himself, not terrible. Take got multiple years of eligibility, which we always like to see. A Harvard grad. He's 6'5", 305, so he's not some undersized guy. So we'll see and apparently they want him to play some center. An interesting addition there. So we'll see where they move, what they do with him, and how they view him going forward. But that seems to, I don't know, man. That seems to maybe be ruffling some feathers in that offensive line room. If Jordan Travis was on this year's Bama team, they would have won the title. Yeah, I said it. Interesting. We need another D tackle and linebacker. Well, I don't know if we're going to get it from Michigan or not. I think, I don't know, man. I'm kind of interested in this particular take. I feel like No, they worked them out. Maybe they got what they liked out of them. I get it. I just maybe you wait till after spring ball to get you a guy. I don't know. Potentially, who knows? Jeff says on the offensive defensive line, you need depth. I mean, you just seen the injuries we had last year. Yeah, absolutely, you need depth. You absolutely need depth. And unfortunately, we're not taking any depth at the spots we need depth at, though. We're not taking any depth at tackle. Unless you're telling me they feel all the way confident in Jalen Early and Julian Armella, then okay, cool. I'm cool with that. But we're not taking any depth at at tackle. And I hope Robert Scott isn't your depth piece because, again, I don't know at this point how you can count on Robert Scott to play more than 3 or 4 games a year. He's going to miss half of the games with injury, and just judging off his history. So you absolutely do need depth. I just, I question, are we taking the right positions? But they know better than me, and so we'll see what happens, obviously, when the season get started. I keep wondering why we keep calling this Auburn kid a linebacker. Now, granted, I never watched the kid play. Anytime you listed at 6'5", 240 or whatever he's listed as, do we really think he's a linebacker, guys? Or he's going to be putting his hand in the dirt? You feel me? I don't know if for one, I don't even know why we're still targeting edge guys. You feel me? I don't think we need any more edge players. And this Auburn linebacker doesn't fill the role at linebacker that we are. He's an edge guy. He's 6'5", 245 pounds. He ain't standing up and playing linebacker. I don't know why he's a take. Maybe they love his measurables. I mean, that'd be an interesting take itself if we were to grab him. I don't understand why we would take that when we already added 3 edge guys in the portal. Damn, what do we need? I don't know. Interesting. They're gonna looks like they're stocking up on talent potentially. Hybrid to do what? I mean, I ain't mad at that. And then what you tell him, I would have buyers on here's the thing. You gotta push Armella. You gotta push those buttons. My hope has always been that the younger guys can push these older guys. So we'll see. I'm concerned that you just have to pay some of these guys out of necessity, buyers and others. That big line, that 6'5", 240 pounder plays inside linebacker. Okay. Okay. Maybe that's why Auburn didn't win a lot of games last year. I'm just saying. Maybe that's why Auburn lost to New Mexico State, was it? By like 30? Didn't New Mexico State put like 30 on them or something crazy like that? I'm not taking. I don't know, bro. I've never seen it. Maybe he's an anomaly. I've never seen it, man. Let's look at this. Let's look at the schedule. Let's keep it moving. Let's look at the schedule, and then of course I'll get back to you guys' comments and all that because that was the whole purpose of this show is kind of just talk to the people. It sucks that I'm going to miss a majority of the schedule. Well, I won't say miss it. I just won't be in the States for it. If I was, I would be circling September 28th in Dallas. I would definitely, that's right down the road. I would have definitely been at that game. What do y'all think of this schedule? You open up with Georgia Tech and Ireland. Boston College, Memphis. It's going to be kind of cool. See Mike coaching. Obviously, all of his former players should be gone at this point, but Norvell coaching against Memphis. Cal got to come all the way to Florida. And then, obviously, Florida State goes to Dallas. Clemson comes to Tallahassee. Duke on the road. Miami on a home away from home. North Carolina. This schedule, just from me looking at it, this schedule lines up very well. It really does. It lines up pretty well. There's not even a stretch that your toughest stretch is looking like. I can't even believe I'm gonna say this. Duke, Miami, North Carolina, Notre Dame. And all four of those schools will have brand new quarterbacks. Granted, it is later in the season, well, midway through the season for those top three, that mid three, I should say. You get Notre Dame at an interesting time. I expect North Carolina to take a dip. Miami under Manny, not Miami. I'm sorry, Duke under Manny is going to be an interesting team to watch. They did get the Texas quarterback out of the transfer portal, so they're going to be an interesting team to watch. And then, of course, Miami, the rivalry game. Notre Dame looks like the toughest team on the schedule, but this schedule isn't hard at all. I can't take anything from Clemson. Clemson cannot continue to not add players out of the portal and expect me or anybody really to take them serious. Like, okay, you recruit well enough to win games, but are you recruiting at the level that you can continue to be a top? The ACC isn't great, so Clemson will remain as a top 3 ACC team. But Clemson at home, I like how I'm looking there. At a minimum, man, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, you're going to roll out of the bed and get 6 games. I'll pencil in 7 with Duke, 8 with North Carolina, because Mac Brown ain't showed you he can beat Florida State at all. At worst, 8 games. That means you lose to Clemson. That means you just lose to all the Clemson, Miami, Florida, Notre Dame. And do we think that's happening? I don't think that's happening. So when I look at the schedule, I'm saying out of those 4 games, at worst, you go 2-2. Right? Again, I think Notre Dame's his toughest game. Miami, that'd be an interesting team. At that point in the season when you're playing Miami, you're gonna be you'll know what you get with them. You'll see how good is Cam Ward adjusted, all those things, right? So Miami would be an interesting game. You get Clemson early again, so I mean, you already know what you got from Klubnik. You got to think DJU is going to be hyped for that game. So again, at worst, I'm looking at 2-2. You could. Florida is almost you can pretty much bank that Florida win. At that point in the season, Florida might have 3 or 4 wins. Florida might be reeling. Billy Napier might be fired at that point. We have no idea. Yeah, I'm thinking 2-2 at worst. But this schedule is honestly cake. I think the schedule is. I think it lines up fairly easily. I think the places where the games, like where they put the games, your first FSU should be 5-0 rolling into Clemson, or Clemson rolling into Tallahassee. FSU should be 5-0. And then you got Clemson, Duke, Miami, North Carolina, Notre Dame. Again, Duke's gonna need a year. I don't know. I don't have. Listen, to Manny Diaz's credit, he has a winning record against FSU, to his credit. So we'll see how that plays out for Manny. And again, Mac Brown, I'm not too worried about. So, what are y'all's thoughts on that schedule? I'll just leave the schedule here up and see what y'all talking about. Jeff says, I like the schedule. I like how to set up. I like the bye weeks. I think they're separated nicely, in my opinion. Floor 9, ceiling 11. Ceiling 11. So you see one loss, Tildar. What is that loss? If the ceiling's only 11 for you, that means you are pretty much say you see a definite loss. Otherwise, the ceiling would be 12. So who's the loss you see? Notre Dame is trash. Well, it's Notre Dame on the road. So you can call them trash, but that's probably going to be a prime time game on the road. So I don't think Marcus Freeman is fielding a trash football team. That's just me though. So yeah. Miami will be calling for Chris Bowles' head by week 5. I don't know what Miami schedules look like, but if it is anything like Miami's schedule in the past, they don't play. They probably won't play anybody in the first. Well, no, they play Florida. Since we're talking schedule, I will say this: Mario can't lose that Florida. First of all, Florida is not pinged to have a great season. Okay, they have a brutal schedule. The transfer portal hasn't really been kind to them. Losing your best running back, your backup quarterback. Transfer portal hasn't been kind to Florida. That recruiting class that was so vaunted fell. Now, they did add a quarterback, but if you're telling me you're going to play that freshman quarterback, then you can definitely bank up the L's. My assumption is Graham Mertz, no matter how bad it gets, will be the starter because you don't want to throw Lagway out in that fire. But Mario better not lose to Billy Napier in game 1. That would be one of the most egregious law. If you bring in Cam Ward and you're recruiting the way you're recruiting and you're Miami and you don't do it. Don't do it. And Florida plays UCF. Man. Beating Taggart. Well, no, he beat 52-10. He beat who was the head coach in that game? Chris Thompson, I believe, was the head coach that game. Remember? He won. Manny also won that one. Notre Dame on the road shouldn't be like glossed over. I agree with that. I don't know why we're glossing it over as if, that's me though. Notre Dame will be payback. I mean, we've already got the payback. We've beaten Brian Kelly twice. So I understand that though. I understand what y'all mean. Different team. Gators beat Miami. That would be fun. It'd be interesting. that would be funny if the Gators were to beat Miami. The only game that worries me is Notre Dame. Yeah, I don't even think there's a trap game. Like last year, you looked at the Pitt game and you said, is that a trap game? Because that's right before Miami. That Boston College game was before Clemson, right? So you saw a couple trap games. I don't even see that unless you think SMU. I mean, SMU might be the only game, and that's Rhett Lashley. SMU won 11 games last year, though I don't believe they've won. I don't believe SMU had one win against a team with a winning record. I believe they got most. Matter of fact, I'm gonna verify that. SMU. Let me try to verify this. I don't believe SMU had a win against a team with the winning record. They made a bowl game off of beating a lot of scrubs. Or that's what's kind of being. I feel like I read that somewhere, man. Don't sleep on Memphis. We losing to Memphis at home? Oh, we ain't losing to Memphis at home. No, we're not losing to Memphis. Maybe you don't take them lightly. And again, I don't think FSU has shown you. I don't think since Jackson State or Jacksonville State, sorry, that Florida State has shown that they take anybody lightly. They obviously took that game lightly. You could tell by the way they called that game. But we're not going to rehash and reopen old wounds. Give me a minute. I'm trying to see. SMU lost to Oklahoma, lost to TCU, beat everybody else on their schedule. They beat Tulane, but that's a bowl game. That you can take from the bowl game what you will. They beat Louisiana Tech 3-9 overall. They beat. I'm not even going to look at Prairie View. They're not even a Division I team. They beat Charlotte 3-9 overall. They beat East Carolina 2-10. They beat Temple 3-9. They beat Tulsa 4-8. They beat Rice 6-7. They beat North Texas 5-7. They beat Memphis. Now Memphis was 10-3. So outside of Memphis, they didn't beat anybody with a winning record. And of course, you count Tulane at the end. So I don't know. I don't know how you judge that SMU team. Again, lastly, we've seen him coach. Pretty good offensive mind. So we'll see how that kind of looks. But I'm not worried about SMU. I'm definitely not worried about SMU or Memphis. So I'm not too worried about that. So again, I think the schedule lines up pretty well. I think again, you can argue SMU, right? Because it's the game before Clemson. Are you looking ahead to Clemson at home? Big atmosphere. You know, that game's going to be crazy. If Clemson takes care, of their games, and I don't even know Clemson's schedule, though we can look at it. Matter of fact, I will look at it real quick. I'm curious to see what Clemson's schedule looks like. Only because I want to see what their first 5 games look like, and do they come into Tallahassee undefeated? Oh no, they definitely won't come into Tallahassee undefeated. They played Georgia game 1. I did not know they played Georgia game 1. So at a minimum, they'll be 1, 2. And then they have a bye week on the 14th. They'll be 3-1 for sure. They'll be 3-1. Yeah, they'll be 3-1 because they got Stanford. I don't know what type of team NC State is really expected to have next year. And then Appalachian State, Appalachian State always plays D1. Well, they are D1 now. But Appalachian State always plays teams tough. We saw they beat Texas A&M 2 years ago, was it? They almost beat North Carolina this past year. Like it was a shootout, like a 49 to 49 game or something. Crazy game against North Carolina. They almost beat them. So Appalachian State probably plays. Who knows, man? There's a chance. I don't know, man. Clemson, I don't know. I don't really believe in Clemson. They aren't. You cannot continue to not add talent to your roster. And I understand you recruit, but you got to mix good recruiting in with good portal players, and they don't do that. We've seen Klubnik. All of a sudden, we expect him to take this major leap. I don't know. Who are the receivers Klubnik's throwing to? You lose Shipley. You lose Trotter. You have another line. I know you just got a 5-star linebacker out of the high school, but is he going to be ready to go for you next? I mean, there's a lot of questions with Clemson. I don't know. Appalachian State could get iffy. They're going to lose to Georgia game 1 because I don't know if you know this, but Georgia, yeah. Georgia's going to probably be the best team in the country next year. So they'll at least they won't be undefeated, unfortunately. I was kind of hoping. FSU we don't get a lot of those big time undefeated matchups, man. Clemson not going to beat Georgia. So yeah. If that Memphis game was away, it could have been a trap game, and I still think they put up a fight. Honestly, that Georgia Tech is interesting. I think Georgia Tech is improving. They always play us well, and it's in Ireland too. So that make a good point with the travel, and they do have Haynes King is their quarterback. I don't know if Georgia. I don't know what Georgia Tech lost in the portal. If anything, I didn't think they did lose one of their edge guys in the portal. They definitely played better last year than they had in recent years. The time zones could be iffy, so that'd be interesting. Georgia Tech could be interesting. Game 1. Clemson has not picked up a soul. But yeah, I agree. There's no reason you should miss the ACC championship. And it's so weird to see Cal as an ACC. Like that's still gonna take some time to get used to. Cal. Yeah. I don't think programs like Memphis hold coaches leaving the same way your bigger programs do. Memphis understands. I think Memphis and fans of Memphis, who are probably only alumni, understand the job that Memphis is. Memphis is a stepping stone. It's not a destination job. It's a job that if you do extremely well there, you will get a big-time job. I don't think they hate Mike at all. I wouldn't know that, obviously, but I don't believe they hate Mike. They understand what their job is, what their program is. You know, it's the schools like Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame would hate Brian Kelly because you don't leave Notre Dame, right? You don't leave FSU like Jimbo did. You don't leave, Miami. You don't leave certain programs. At least we believe you don't leave certain programs. But Memphis, yeah. ACC needs to let us out of this conference. But I don't disagree with you. Seeing Cal on there is interesting to say the least. Oop, let me take that off. But we've seen the schedule. So please, man, hit the like button. I'm just gonna not a lot to talk about. I didn't have a particular topic I wanted to discuss this Wednesday. I really just want to get in here, touch up with y'all, let y'all, whatever y'all want to talk about, whatever questions y'all have. So feel free to get in the chat and ask them. Luckily, we had some stuff break as soon as I came on. We got a new offensive lineman out the portal from Harvard. He's a Harvard grad. You don't get much smarter than Harvard. I don't know what his major is. What if I can look that up? I'm not gonna waste my time. Maybe he's I don't know, bioengineer or something. Who knows? But he's a Harvard grad, 305, 6'5", 305. Apparently they want him at center. So, hey, we've been trying to push Maurice. They've been trying to take Maurice Smith's job for 3 straight years, and they never do. Caden Lyles gets hurt, doesn't play. Who else did they bring in? I think they originally brought in Dylan Gibbons to play center. Nope, move him to guard. You brought in Caden Lyles. Didn't work. He didn't play a snap for you. Got him, injury. Didn't happen. You brought in Roddick. Allegedly was going to be a center. Move him to guard. They can't bring up soul in to take Maurice's spot. We'll see what Rizzy does coming up here. Who's our breakout receiver this year? Great question. A lot of potential guys. For the sake of this team, I got to see that 5-star live up to that 5-star status. Historically, and y'all tell me I'm wrong. Historically, FSU recruiting 5-star receivers, they don't turn out that way. Whether it's a George Campbell, 5-star receivers at Florida State, a lot of times don't live up to the billing. I want to look at some of the 5-star receivers Florida State has had over the years, because I'm telling you, I really don't think FSU has a good track record with them once they get to college. I'm just going to go back, and I'll just start. Let's start from 2010, right? See how many 5-star receivers we even recruited. Kenny Shaw was a 4-star. And he was the highest rated receiver in that class. That's 2010. Let's go to 2011. Then you go to 2011. You got Kelvin Benjamin, 4-star. Rashard Green, 4-star. No 5-stars there. 2012. Marvin Bracey didn't even play a snap for you. He went to the Olympics. He decided he was going to run track. Highest rated receiver in that class. (2013) Isaiah Jones. Who? Isaiah Jones ever play a snap for Florida State? Kermit. There's again for Jesus Wilson, 3-star. Isaiah Jones ever play a snap for Florida State, y'all? Because I don't remember. I legitimately couldn't tell you. Let's go to 2014. Travis Rudolph was a 5-star. Solid player. Did he really live up to 5-star billing, though? Ermon Lane. That man ended up playing safety. So yeah, like I said, I need Hakeem. Hakeem's got to be my breakout. I need Hakeem Williams, and I can keep going if y'all want. We can continue this. 2015. Let's just do it for giggles. George Campbell. Yeah, I already mentioned George. Devontae Phillips. Shout out to Auden Tate. Auden Tate was third best receiver in that class. He ended up being the best receiver in that class. I'll stop at 2015, but y'all get my point. I think it's Hakeem. Hakeem has to be the guy to step up. Yeah, Travis Rudolph was not only was a 5-star, he was a top 20 player in the country. Rudolph was a 5-star. And I'm just saying because I just looked at it, so that's how I know. Hell no, Terry wasn't a 5-star. He was a 3-star. No, Kermit wasn't a 5-star. I just named him because he was like the second best receiver in that class. What's up, Terrell? So again, FSU doesn't have a great track record with their 5-star receivers, is my point. And I think even if you go earlier than 2010, I think that still holds true. So I got to get, again, Hakeem Williams, man. I need Hakeem to be that guy. We need Hakeem to be that guy. What else we got? You think Portier? Okay. I disagree. I think Portier can get passed over. I don't think FSU needs Portier to be good. I think it'd be a nice benefit for Portier to be a good player. Now, I guess if you're just saying that that's the guy that steps up, then okay, he may very well be a guy that steps up. But if you get what you've been getting at a Kentron, I don't really think that affects your team because of the everything they added. DJ Matthews. I'm still looking at the list of top receivers in every FSU's class, and POLK turned out to be the best receiver in his class. That's 2017, by the way. So we're getting closer to Trayshawn Harrison. Look, I'm done. I like the schedule. It's hard for me to pick wins and losses right now. I could easily go through the schedule and say you're gonna win every game, right? But I keep talking about the roster and how you want to see the roster kind of complete before you start making assessments. But I kind of said, like, I think at a minimum, man, you see 8 wins. At a minimum, the FSU's talent level and all, I see 8 wins. I see 8 wins. So now the real games become Notre Dame, Miami, Clemson, Florida. Those 4 games. So at a minimum, if I see 8 wins, 10-2, 11, like at worst, what are those for? At worst, you split them 2-2. You're not losing to all 4 of them. You're not. It's hard for me to say you're going to win all 4 because, again, how the roster plays out. This team that they're putting together now, how that team actually looks on the field. If you go to each position group and I ask what are the question marks I have offensively, I question. I really do question my O-line, not because I don't think it has. I think O-line has a ton of players in that room. But damn it, I don't know what the starting 5 is going to be. I'm not sure they know what the starting 5 is going to be right now. You just brought in another O-lineman to push Maurice Smith. For all you know, Rizzi could be your starting center. Leonard could be at one guard. Ferguson could be at another guard. Or Byers could be at guard. And Leonard be at, I don't know. So when I see how they put that O-line together, we'll have a better idea of the way the team, I think, looks. But I don't see a ton of losses. And I don't know if the guy's worth anything, to be honest with you. Yeah, he was. He was a DB to start off with. I think we all know more than the spring game because I think at least 2, maybe 3 more players to the portal. I want to know what kind of team we'll have. And as far as who's going to be wide receiver 1, that's another tough question. I could see it being a multitude of guys. If you told me Malik Benson came in here and You know, if you told me Malik Benson came in here and got in an offense that maybe featured him better and became wide receiver number one, I wouldn't question it. If you told me Dustin Hill took a step, if you told, somebody ran to Kentron, you've got options for sure. Peter Ward was a 5-star. How long ago was that? It's kind of the point. We don't have a great history of 5-star receivers. Miami and Notre Dame are the only possible L's in my opinion. I don't know if you can never sleep on Clemson, even though I don't have a lot of faith in Clemson. The one position they still have solid defensive lines, so you can't sleep on that. And we just talked about how our O-line, again, not because of lack of players, but just who plays and where they play. O-line is kind of a question at this point. I can't just mark a win against Clemson. Clemson is a team that still has enough talent, and you just beat them for the first time in what was it, 7-8 years? Yeah, you don't just start disregarding Clemson at this point, though I think they're definitely trending downward. Yeah, I'm not even gonna get started on that. I really wish you would stop doing that, but whatever. Whatever. I feel like every spring I express my displeasure with we play a half of spring football and then the second half is always some garbage, in my opinion. Waste of everybody's time. And they're not going to change it, so I'm not going to complain about it. I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. And again, I personally, I have a lot of faith in I got a lot of faith in Mo. And ain't nobody beat him out yet. But Mo is very similar to Robert Scott in the sense of when he plays, he's a good player, but he can't stay on the field. And maybe Rizzy, can be more durable than Maurice. I don't know how Maurice feels about that. I'm pretty sure, But shout out to Maurice because he's took that challenge every year. Love the assessment. It's straightforward. The only game I worry about is Notre Dame. Miami and UF are rivalry games. Clemson, I don't worry about them that much. They are declining. Always have to counter the rivalry games, right? Should we worry about Miami or will they have self-destructed by then as usual? Well, I don't know if they'll self-destruct. What is Miami's schedule? I mean, let's pay attention. Should we worry about Miami? Miami probably has another terrible schedule. I'll probably guarantee you that they're playing like Bethune-Cookman or something because that's. I think they play FAMU. Actually, I think they play FAMU this year. Let me see if I can find their schedule. Florida, obviously, yep. Then A&M, Ball State, USF, Virginia Tech, Cal, Louisville. Bro, what is this? Get out of here. My bad. It just would stop letting me, block me in the middle of it. Miami's got a cake. Man, look. Miami should theoretically, every time I try to look at their schedule, it blocks me out of it. Where can I find Miami's schedule? But Miami doesn't have a tough schedule, man. I didn't see Clemson on that schedule. I didn't see North Carolina, and North Carolina has their number. So they have no North Carolina on the schedule, no Clemson on this schedule. They have Louisville, and that's right before they play us, and that's at Louisville. So that could be a tough game for them. Duke versus Miami will be fun with Manny Diaz. Georgia Tech beat them last year. I mean, Wake, Syracuse to close the year. Miami, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. You look at Miami, and just off of talent alone, the toughest game is Florida State and Florida. Bro, after Florida, they go A&M, Ball State, USF, Virginia Tech, and Cal. Miami has a cut. Miami, if Miami beats the Gators, at a minimum, they should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At a minimum, Miami should be 6-1 when they play FSU. At a minimum. Meaning they could potentially lose to Florida. They could potentially lose to Louisville in the first 7 games. That's all I see. That's all I see. Holy cow. Miami should finish the year, bro, with no more than 3 losses. With this schedule, man, if Mario is at 7-5 again, he just ain't the guy, bro. He just ain't the guy. Very interesting, very easy schedule for the Hurricanes. Very easy schedule. I mean, yikes. Syracuse is bringing in a brand new coach. So what do you expect from them? I mean, do we expect Wake Forest to be really any good next year? I don't. Georgia Tech could be a good team, potentially. Duke, first year of Manny Diaz. There's going to be some transition there. Braum in his second year. It's going to be interesting to see how Braum looks in his second year. You expect him. There could be a little bit of a second-year slump there with Braum, but we'll see. I mean, Cal, Virginia, man. I don't know. I don't think if they lose to Florida. If they lose to Florida and one of these USFs or Virginia Techs or something, they might self-destruct. But to answer the question, Miami shouldn't be pressed. How does Miami? I don't know, bro. Marco, we did this same song last year, my man. We didn't play you last year, and we made the ACC title, and we beat you with a third stringer. So just relax, Marco. Good to have you here, but just relax. Well, that's why I say Miami better not lose to Florida, because if you're Mario and you can't beat Billy and you can't beat Mike, yikes. You know, I don't even know who Miami's other rivals are. Right? Do they consider Virginia Tech a rival because they're Big East days? What about? I don't know. I just know, honestly, Miami is a one game schedule every year. Their only real rival they have is us. They don't play Florida every year. That's just a rivalry by the nature of it being a big 3 in the state. But they don't play the Gators every year. I'm sure there's no love lost there, but they don't play them every year. The only game every year on that schedule is us. And I'm looking at the schedule, like, who is the other game that that team gets hyped up for? Virginia Tech? Duke? Who? Unlike FSU, who does have the Gators. At a minimum, FSU gets up for 2 games. We usually get up for Clemson as well. Clemson is an ACC rival, though I don't consider Clemson a traditional rivalry. They are an ACC rival, and that game has been built in that fashion. Miami loses to Florida. If they lose to Cal, bro. Who said is Cal supposed to have a good team? That you're not. Why do I keep seeing people talk about the California Golden Bears as if they're supposed to have a good team? And honestly, Cal's got a hell of a schedule. They got Auburn, Florida State, Miami, NC State all on the same schedule. Cal's got an interesting schedule. But is Cal supposed to have a good team next year or something? When is the last time? Notre Dame played a few years ago. Who sucks worse, Mario or Billy? If you're forced to have one coach, FSU, would it be a crappy situation either way? I'm not going to pick him at Florida State, but if you're just going to ask me who I would take over the two, both show that they can recruit to a degree. This might sound crazy, and I think Mario's an elite recruiter. I don't know if Billy's as elite of a recruiter as Mario, but he's shown that he can probably recruit fairly well. I would probably take I would probably take Billy with the slight edge over Mario, because at least with Billy, I'm going to assume he would kneel the football. At least with Billy, I'm going to assume that the quarterback position wouldn't be in such shambles that it's been under Mario. Now, they had AR, I get it. And then this year they had, I mean, honestly, Billy's had a much more stable quarterback situation than Mario has had. And Billy, even this year, I know he had to go to his second string, but Mertz played for the majority of the year, and Mertz actually played well for them. They just had other problems on that team. If I'm just picking head coaches alone, I might take Billy by a slight favorite, but not by much. Only because I don't trust Mario when the game's on the line for him to make the right decision or to manage the clock properly, to call timeouts when they need to be called, to kneel the damn ball. Mario's more inclined to lose a game with idiotic JV mistakes than I think Billy Napier is. Well, your own coach goes for it on fourth down a lot too, so Mike Norvell goes for it on fourth down pretty decent amount of time. And frankly, if you're not, if you pay attention to the way football, even at the NFL level, the analytics are now dictating. A lot of coaches are going for it on fourth down way too much. Even when the analytics say they should go for it, I'm like, just kick the punt. But that's just the nature of the game. We're in an analytics era where the analytics say go for it. These coaches go for it. And, it ain't going to be fun. What gun? What gun? What gun? What gun? Ain't going to be fun with Mario. What gun? Please. Nobody care about them little pea shooters you got. So, yeah, that's my answer to that question. But y'all keep the questions coming. Well, that's what's up. Did y'all see Ja'Cory Brown talk about when Cam Ward was first coming to Miami? If you didn't check that out, you should go listen to it. Interesting stuff there. Is it true? Yeah. I mean, you can go watch it. It's only about the clip I seen is only about 1 minute and 43 seconds, but I mean that's Matter of fact, I don't want to play it for anybody because I don't want somebody. It's on somebody else's channel, so I'm not gonna play it. But go check it out, man. Go check it out. Hit the like button. So, what do y'all think about the new offensive line edition? What do you guys? What are some of your expectations as far as the not transfer portal? I'm sorry, as far as spring goes. Like we talked about it pretty much last week. We kind of looked at each position group and kind of penciled in who we think may start at each group. And another thing, if you haven't noticed, Georgia's now being under investigation for their NCAA violations, which include improper coaching, recruiting violations. Florida also got named into a investigation. NCAA is just going to start handing out these investigations. I'm very, very interested to see how NCAA divvies out punishment. You saw FSU slap on the wrist. FSU's under sanctions as we speak, and they don't move as a team that's under sanctions. So I don't even know what's really going on. They just went 13-0 under sanctions too. I'll be interested to see. And I said it before. I don't think the NCAA has any real power, so I don't think any of that stuff is starting to matter at this point. But I'm interested to see what punishments they divvy out to some of these other schools, and maybe they can get their name back. Maybe they can get their name back. Georgia, Florida, both facing investigations coming up. We'll see. Again, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Essentially what he said was he didn't, in a nutshell, and he said some stuff, but in a nutshell, what he kind of said was like he don't feel like Cam Ward really want to be there. Like he feels like how a lot of these, I think, college kids feel. A lot of these college kids feel like, man, I committed to this school out of high school, and y'all are bringing in other guys from other schools and just giving them, allegedly giving them starting position. I think so. He just that's how he feels. Echoing the sentiments of a Kanaya Trump, Derek McClendon. Y'all remember McClendon? How he felt when FSU was bringing in Gilbert Edmond and some of these other guys. Like a lot of these, and I'll be honest with you, I don't blame these young men for feeling that way per se. They're humans and they're gonna feel the way they feel. I would ask them to compete. Like if you're a coach, you would ask them, well, compete. Show that you belong. But yeah, in a lot of ways, man, a lot of these kids, they recruit to some of these, they commit to these schools. And like if you're Julian Armella and you're Jalen Early, and FSU continues to bring in an O lineman every single transfer portal class, would you all not feel the same way? And I don't know how they haven't. Armella and Early haven't spoken out, but just speaking it from FSU's perspective, if I'm them two, like, damn, what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? If you're a defensive end, you bring in MJJ, you bring in a buddy out of Oregon State. If you're Jaden Jones, if you're Dante Anderson, if you're Lamont Green Jr., one of these guys, how do you feel? So I think it's valid feelings. And that's just not just from a Miami perspective, a Florida State perspective. I think a lot of these kids feel that way. Now, I would ask, and again, as a coach, you would ask them, hey, man, get in there and compete. What's the difference between bringing in the high school kid to take your spot or a portal kid to take your spot? Minimal difference. I would say the biggest difference is the high school kid usually has to get acclimated. You usually bring in a portal guy to do just that, take a spot. You probably don't spend that time and resources on a portal guy to just come in and be a depth piece, though there are certain situations where you do that. Most likely he will. And you can't blame him. Listen, I don't blame a lot of these. There are certain situations where when people transfer, you go, man, what were you thinking? And Rodney Hill is a perfect example of that. You left FSU not because, like, I am a firm believer, FSU does not even go after the Alabama running back, Roydell Williams, if Rodney stays on the team. I believe that. I believe that. They probably still would have got Jaden, the Indiana guy, just because of what he's being brought in to do. Some of these guys are hitting the portal for the wrong reasons. But some of these guys are hitting the portal, they're saying, man, there's no reason Quayshawn Sapp and these boys left. They not get an opportunity to play, and you keep bringing in people with seniority. It's not like you're bringing in young people in the room. You're bringing in people, Quayshawn Sapp would have been a sophomore this upcoming, a redshirt sophomore, something like that this upcoming season. You're bringing in, people that's on his level or higher. What chances does FAMU have of beating Miami? 0. 0. Well, as long as you understand that schedule's weak sauce, obviously 10 wins, y'all should be writing that in. What I think about Rodney Hill at Miami, I mean, good luck. I hear you. I'm not mad at this time. I'm not mad at this mindset either. But baby, when money starts becoming involved to a degree, I don't disagree with you. I do, however, one of the things and again, I am a proponent of the portal, have been a proponent of the portal when it evolved into the way it's evolved. So I support it. But I will argue, one of the things I don't seem to like about the portal is I feel like, this is just my own 2 cents, we are masking, and it's no coaches. It feels like no coaches are doing it anymore. But we have, I don't know, mask is the right word. One of the key things we like to talk about is development. Well, who's developing? Maybe certain position groups seem to be developing. But again, man, and I don't want to turn on Atkins here, but who's Atkins developed? Atkins will be going on his 5th year. Who's Atkins recruited? Atkins is all portal guys. Now, whatever. It's the portal. You acquire talent the best way you can and put them on the field. I ain't against it. But one of the things I hate about the portal is I feel like we no longer, develop players anymore. There was a time where your roster was your roster, and you had to get the most out of that roster. And I don't know, coaches had to coach, right? There was a time where coaches had to coach. Your roster was what you had, and you had to make a way for that roster on the field on Saturdays. And now the message we send the young players, all the coaches put out there, big old primetime Deion Sanders is the most boisterous about it. They flat out tell you, if you can't play, I don't have to develop what's behind you. I will just discard you, and I will bring in someone else who can play from another program. That's one of the things that I really don't like about the portal, is that I feel like coaches aren't being asked to coach anymore, or coaches aren't being asked to teach. If you can call a good game on Saturdays, now you're considered a good coach. But can you teach? Where's the developers? Coaching used to be about teaching, i.e. development. And now I feel like you got good scheme. You can call a good game. You considered a good coach now. The development part, that's for the birds. Let's kind of just bring in, this is my little tangent. So I feel it. I feel Ja'Cory Brown. I feel Kanaya Charlton. I feel some of these guys. Some of these guys, I feel it. I understand how they feel. I understand how they feel. Appreciate Jeff for the $10 dono.
Jeff.
But as the NIL continues to become a driving force in this, and coaches are starting to make, to the defense of some of these coaches, the Mike Norvells and other coaches that are doing this, even in the defense of Dion to a degree, though I don't know what Dion's making. When you're starting to pay coaches now 10, 11, 12 million a year, coaches ain't got time to hear about that development crap because their livelihood, their pockets depend on winning on the field as soon as they possibly can. And if one of the tools at their disposal is I can go get Jeremiah Byers and not have to bank on a high school offensive lineman. I'm using Byers because Byers didn't play particularly well. Byers played as well as any offensive lineman you could have got out of college, had a high school year one. You get what I'm saying? What's up, RA? Oregon tampered with who? Not Rodney. Rodney Hill? If that's the case, why didn't he go to Oregon? But no, I didn't hear about that. I just use Charlton as an example. I'm not saying Charlton Kanaya is like the example. I just was using him as an example as if he feels a certain type of way, I get it. Do I agree with about when you start making it about guys are getting paid and I ain't getting paid? And I agree that's very Jarvis Brownlee-esque. I saw KCS say like, well, you got to fulfill your duties to get the money. And I get all of that. I'm not disputing any of that. I'm just using him as an example. You know, I don't think I'm grouchy. I'm just, that's just like my nitpick of it. Again, while I like the portal and I like the free agency that is college football, at least as far as an entertainment standpoint, again, I keep reverting back to that video I did weeks ago when I told you that the game you loved is dead. And NIL and college football playoff and all these things have killed it. The transfer portal has killed it. So if you didn't go watch that video, go back and watch the video where I talked about it. I talked about the game you know and love is dead. College football is dead. Matter of fact, I did that video about a month ago. It was the episode 100, the death of college football. And the game you loved is dead. And there are nitpicks to it. Is it more entertaining? And the offseason is arguably more entertaining in college football than any offseason in sports. In my opinion, the best offseason in sports is usually the NBA free agency. NBA free agency is usually bananas. NFL free agency is The big NFL offseason is the draft. That's where everybody gets excited for, is the draft. NBA free agency is usually bananas. College football has surpassed both, in my opinion. College football offseason is nuts with the coaching carousel, now the transfer portal, recruiting still going on. It's entertaining for sure. But again, the game that you kind of grew up loving is no longer that game. And you either have to get used to it or no longer watch it. I'm getting used to it. But there are things about it that I just don't like. And though I might say F these kids at times, the truth is these are still 17 and 18-year-olds looking for guidance in certain – when they go to these programs, they are looking for guidance. They are looking to be taught. They are looking to be groomed into the men and athletes they want to be. And I feel like a lot of that's just getting thrown aside, and we're no longer doing that. Are there coaches still doing it? Absolutely. But not all of them. And no longer the coaches can pick and choose now the players that they want to groom and teach. And the ones, again, there used to be a time where the roster was your roster. Now we can just flip it in the season. My question is, if we can fill the elite O-line with all these transfers, especially when we keep bringing in new guys with no – oh, you're asking basically, can we field an elite O-line? Elite's one of those words that I hate in sports nowadays. Like, there's words in sports that trigger me, in sports talk, I should say, that trigger me. That when I automatically hear them, I don't even want to listen to the rest of your content. Elite is one of them. Generational is one of them. Proof of concept is another one. Like, these are phrases or words that I absolutely despise. We oversaturate elite and generation. So elite, FSU is probably not going to field an elite offensive line. Very similar to last year. I talked about last year's O-line, and I said very good veteran group. But if you look at the O-line, there's not an NFL player on it. Well, here's the question. Going into next year, is there an NFL player on the O-line? There's some potential guys, but they're all the younger. Ferguson has NFL traits. I think Keandre Jones is still – we'll see. But I don't think you have any NFL guys at tackle, at least not with your starters, you know. And I don't think you see Lucas Simmons. Probably Lucas Simmons won't be ready next year. So when you start talking about elite, who on that O-line is going to the NFL, right? When you go look at the 2013 offensive line, 3 of those guys went to the league. No, 4 of them went. 4 of them got drafted. I don't think Matthias got drafted, but Bobby Hart, Cam Irving was a first rounder. Trey Jackson, I think, was a 3rd rounder. Stork was a 4th rounder. I don't remember what round Bobby Hart went into, but all of them got drafted. I think Cam Irvin's still in the league. Stork probably would have still been in the league, but he had the injury. Do we have that? I don't believe we have that. Okay, man, we are about as comfortable with our quarterback depth as Miami is. I think everyone regrets the whole NIL transfer portal decision. I know the coaches hate it. I know the coaches hate it. Absolutely, I know the coaches absolutely despise it. Fans love it, I think, to a degree. I think some fans love it, some fans hate it. Again, there's a bit of traditionalism in college sports that you go, ugh. But again, it's entertaining. I love it because it's entertaining. And I get to come on here and talk about it. But if I was a player, I would probably love it, but also hate it. Because for every player, I think that loves it, I think there's a group of players also that hate it. For every player that's able to hit the portal and get better opportunity, there's a player that's in the portal right now who nobody's calling. And he just decided to leave his prior school, whether he was pushed out. And everybody's not leaving on their own free will. That's another thing that I think we don't – that's another thing that we don't talk about that much. We think everybody that hits the portal is hitting the portal because they want to. There are coaches, again, that are telling kids, you're not going to play here. There are coaches that are pushing, these young men out the door. MJ Morris explained that pretty well, the NC State quarterback who transferred somewhere. I actually forget where he transferred to, but he hit the transfer portal. And it was like, why would MJ Morris hit the transfer portal? He played well for NC State last year. Like, he was trending up to be the starter. No. Like, there's no reason for him to hit the portal, but They want it to move on. I think for every player that loves it, there's a player that despises it. Johnny Wilson was almost one of those players. Like if FSU wouldn't have had, if FSU doesn't have the worst wide receiver room in the country, maybe, did Johnny Wilson even find a home? Johnny Wilson said nobody was calling him when he entered the transfer portal. Florida State called him because Florida State needed bodies, and they needed a diverse skill set. Florida State was not in a position to tell a 6'7", 200 and whatever Johnny Wade, 220, 30-pound wide receiver, oh, no, we don't need you. And that's what Champ basically, he just alluded to what I'm saying. Just saw this comment. For every player that loves it, there's players that don't love it. And again, but that's the nasty, that's the death of the business, that's the death of the sport. And again, like Marco said, it is entertaining. It gives people stuff to talk about. It gives us plenty of speculation, and it's absolutely entertaining. You think we see Knowles listed as a safety come spring? I think coaches want to keep him and put him back. I would hope if he's going to stay on the team, you got to put him back at nickel, from my opinion. Yeah, I think it should be regulated too. But how do you regulate? You know, one of the crazy things about this entire conversation when we talk about portal and NIL, we can all agree that something has to be done, but nobody can give us nobody can give a solution of how. How do you regulate the portal? I think the portal needs to go back to what it was, not how it was 15, 20 years ago. But my solution to the transfer portal is simple. And especially if you're going to start putting these NIL dollars into it. One free move, you kids should not be able to, this is my opinion, but you shouldn't be playing, or you're in college. How are you playing for 3 different universities in 3 years? That's crazy to me. And that's our own quarterback, right? You should be able to transfer once. I think you should keep the rule that if a coach leaves or gets fired, that I like that 30-day window. I think you should keep that rule. But I think every player should be allowed one free transfer. You should not only that, or let me rephrase that. Yeah, I think every player, if you want to keep the most, and see, this all goes through my head as I speak about it, but if you want to keep the multiple transfer rule, I think the team that you commit to at a high school should have a minimum of 3 years, with very similar to the NFL draft. Players cannot declare for the NFL until their junior year or redshirt sophomore year. Basically, you have to have 3 years in college. The first team you commit to out of high school should be able to keep you for 3 years, whether that's a junior or a redshirt sophomore. After that, you get one free transfer and then a grad transfer if you're granted that, which I'm okay with grad transfer guys getting another opportunity. But your original school should have a 3-year window to do something with you. You should be stuck at that school for 3 years. That will regulate the portal. That will put a bigger emphasis back on high school recruiting. You will actually have to develop that kid for those 3 years. And then you get 3 years to assess. Look, not everybody is good. Even 5 stars. Not everybody develops. So you give me 3 years with you. Maybe you're a bust, or maybe you just can't play at this level or whatever. Now you can go explore your options. But this whole freshman hit the portal, again, I love it. I get to watch it. But as a coach, I can't even fathom how you can possibly put together a roster and even mention development when Sam McCall hits the transfer portal after year 1. Like when Goldie Lawrence hits the transfer portal after year 1. There's no development because no one wants to be there. Every school, the first school you commit to out of high school should get 3 years minimum with you. And then you can hit the portal all willy-nilly after that. or you should get your one free one. And keep the same rules with the whole schools. If a coach gets fired or leaves, I'm okay with the 30-day window. I think that's only fair, especially in today's kids are not committing to universities anymore. Kids are committing to coaches and those relationships. So I understand that. But that's kind of my solution to transfer portal. The team you commit to at a high school should get 3 years with you. And after that, and if you're gonna, my last tidbit on that, and if you're gonna keep the transfer portal with the multiple transfers, you get one free one. After that, your school then gets to like they used to do in the old days, 20 years ago. That's the old days now, but like they used to do 20 years ago. If you want to transfer after your first free one, now the school gets to dictate where you go, meaning you can't transfer anywhere else in the SEC. So ETN never gets a chance to go to Georgia. You can't transfer anywhere else in the ACC. Rodney Hill would never get a chance to go to Miami. We would never get Daryl Jackson either. But if you want to start doing these multiple transfer things, well, then now you put the power in the hands of the coaches to go, you can't transfer in the state of Florida. You can't transfer within this conference. I think that gives power back to the coaches. That eliminates all this bouncing around college football like hot potato. So I'm with that. That's how I see regulating it. But yeah, Harbaugh just announced he's going to the league. Yeah, he took the Chargers job. Does it really? Have you not checked UGA's roster? I don't think that's accurate at all. What about Ohio State? Both of them. That Ohio State just got not Cam Ward. I'm sorry. Ohio State just got the best safety in the country. Like, it's not true at all. Yeah, that's going to keep him in college forever. I don't know if that's something you can. I don't think you can't feasibly do that. I don't think. Why? That's not. You can't do that, Marco, because the normal college student can transfer universities and not have to lose. Well, depending on, I guess, where he transferred to. So I don't know about that one. That? We'll end on this, but I like this question because we're kind of just talking college football in general right now. DeBoer, man, he continues to kind of prove me right. Now, if you're not paying attention, he's letting all the Alabama players go to the portal, and then he's bringing in all this. If you're telling me you're going to bring Washington players to the SEC and expect like Bama to continue to churn the machine, you're in for a rude awakening there, my guy. And I get it. You want to coach the talent. You evaluate it. I get all of that. You want to coach your guys and bring the guys that you better start evaluating different talent. You're at Alabama now. Start using the resources and get a different caliber of athlete. You keep bringing in your Washington guys to play at Alabama. It ain't finna be the same results you got in Washington playing in the Pac-12. I'm sorry. You keep doing that while Hugh Freeze is out here recruiting these ridiculous recruiting classes, while Lane Kiffin is out here stacking talent. Texas is now in the building. You know what Sark is doing. Like, sir, you keep bringing Washington kids over to think that they're finna play for you at Alabama. They can play for you at Alabama, but you ain't finna win a bunch of games in the SEC with that. So DeBoer keeps, I don't know, man. I didn't, again, don't have a problem with him as a coach. I actually think he's a very good coach, very good offensive mind. But what he's doing is what I was worried about. He don't have ties to the region, so now he's bringing up these other guys in the north, these Northwest guys, and think he's going to come into the SEC football. Good luck. Good luck. DeBoer about to say, man, listen, good luck, man. Good luck to him. I'm trying to tell you, and he's all these Bama players in the portal, and now he's bringing in his Washington player. Like I'm like, okay, which I wasn't shocked about the quarterback that left because DeBoer brought in his freshman quarterback from Washington. Again, I get it. Now there's one position that I get it, man. Quarterbacks want to bring in their coaches bringing in their quarterback. That's a unique relationship. I understand it. But you lose. Does Bama have a secondary left? Bama's lost every decent. Bama's lost that entire secondary. Hey man, good luck to him again. Good luck to him. I look at Washington. I look at that Washington roster, and a lot of those kids were exactly. And these, you can't say he's not a good coach because the man's won at every level, right? You can't say he's not a good coach. I don't know about that. But that doesn't mean he's good enough to be at that particular job. So we'll see, man. We'll see what he does. I don't like the formula, but hey, I've been wrong before. I could be wrong now. I don't think I spoke about it earlier, but I don't think Michigan's going to have the same issues that Bama's having because the guy that they're probably going to make the head coach is already on the staff, already has a relationship, already has those things implemented. Those kids won 6 games this past year with that guy at the interim head coach. So they have that with him. You probably keep him on board and he probably salvages that. Will they have a few guys? Probably have a few guys, but I think Michigan won't suffer the same. They won't suffer the same thing that Bama or Washington has suffered thus far. Well, Saban was that great. Almost every kid has almost admitted that they went over there to you go over there to play for Nick Saban. You're about to see Bama's about to go back to being what it was before Nick got there, and that was an afterthought. Or maybe not. Maybe DeBoer keeps the train moving. We'll see. What's my question? What I asked this question respectively, but what's your perspective on the 12-team playoff this year? Do you think a team with 4 losses could make the 12 team? It's going to depend on the field. Theoretically, sure. If you remember the year LSU won the Natty with 2 losses, like if you have a crazy year like that where the best team in the country is a 2L team, 4 wins, probably 4 losses, probably get you in the playoffs. But in a normal year, probably not. So you got to think, we know your conference champions. So unless somehow you win the conference with 4 losses, you know your conference champions get an automatic bid. Probably the problem with the 4 losses, it's probably you're going to have the Tulanes of the world. You're going to have the Liberties. You're going to have these other schools that are going to play cupcake schedules, go undefeated, and in a 12-team playoff, probably have a legit argument. Like I don't mind seeing. Would I give Liberty a shot of winning a 12-team playoff? No, I'm just using them because they went undefeated. They went undefeated and then they lost to Oregon. But I would like to see it. I am a firm believer that anything can happen on Saturdays. And I know even if the odds are stacked against you, man, anything can happen. I would love to see it. I think it would make good TV. Cinderella stories is kind of what makes the NCAA tournament in basketball so fun to watch because we know that in the NCAA tournament, a lot of times the most talented teams, Kentucky at a time was fielding the most talented team. And Calipari could only win one with Anthony Davis. And every year he had DeMarcus Cousins, or he had John Wall, or he had Tyreek Evans. Every year Calipari had the best players in the country. And Anthony Davis is the only one that can get them. But that's basketball, right? And one thing about basketball, we love the Cinderella story when that comes to that. I don't know if you'll ever really get that. But I say all of that to say I struggle to see a 4-loss team making it. Yeah, I struggle. Yes, I agree with this. In theory, you just need to win the conference. That gets you the automatic bid. Everything after that, well, hey. And I'm guessing that is obviously the Power 5 and the AAC champion would get in. That's my guess, right? So those 6 get automatic bids, which is cool to me. In a 12-team playoff, I don't know how you could justify the SEC having 4 or 5. When half of those spots are going to get taken up, again, by just conference champions. So that means the SEC already gets 1. I don't know how you could justify every other spot being filled up by the SEC. That'd be ridiculous. No, I don't think that'd happen. I think the most you'll see is 3. Yeah, if you're in those 12 games, you absolutely NFL prospects won't opt out of those games. They still opt out of the bowl games, though. I've been juicing so I went and bought some mangoes and oranges and some kale. I went and bought some stuff, juiced it myself. That's how I've been managing. That's how I've been struggling. I will say this though, when I'm not hungry, and I honestly don't. It's not like I spend my whole day hungry. I just have these moments where it's like, dang, I want to eat. But I do feel like I can feel it, like, I don't know, detoxing my body or whatever. Like I feel like I have more energy. I feel better since I've been doing it. My goal is to make it to Friday. After Friday, I'm going to eat. But my goal right now, we're at Wednesday, is to make it till Friday. And I started Sunday night. So that's the goal. But with all that said, man, we went 2 hours, talked about a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Just a quick recap. FSU does get a transfer portal offensive lineman out of Harvard. Jacob Rizzi is his name. O-line is his game. And center might be his main. They're potentially bringing him here to compete at the center spot. So FSU has brought in 3 offensive linemen out of the portal. Not 1 tackle, all interior guys. So either they can't recruit any tackles or they feel very confident in their tackle game. And maybe they do. Maybe, Atkins see these guys. Maybe Atkins feels pretty confident in Armella in early next year, or maybe even Lucas Simmons. So, recap there. Harbaugh has taken the Chargers job. So Michigan, for the now, is wide open, though I think they will promote from within, and that won't be a situation like Alabama. My FSU schedule released. We went back over it. We went over that. Not really tough schedule for Florida State as far as I'm concerned. 8 games would be a terrible season for Florida State next year. That's right, 8 games. So I'm looking at it. Again, it's hard for me to call it, but I'm looking at a minimum 10-win season next year. And then I just answered a bunch of questions for y'all. So that's all I got here, man. As always, is your boy Polk over here on 863 Seminole TV. Y'all stay classy, Seminoles, and we are out here. Go Noles. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the videos. And we will try to get something out this weekend. I can't promise it, but I'm going to try to get something out this weekend. So I'm going to holler at y'all later. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's evening.